Do we think we need a minister for boys? 0207 862 2222 is the number. Earlier this week, we spoke about Lord Blunkett, the former Labour Education Secretary, saying girls ought to be mobilised to encourage boys to pull their socks up, and I quote, and stop being wastes of space. Well, now the suggestion seems to have kind of ballooned a bit, and the new suggestion is that for the betterment of boys, we need a minister appointed especially for boys. The think tank says that boys and men need more role models, more mentors, and that a new government minister might be able to facilitate this. The Centre for Policy Research on Men and Boys says that the fact that boys do worse than girls at almost every subject and every level at school is too readily accepted. We're just used to it now. We don't try to think about what to do to change it. So what do you think? Do give me a call. Maybe you're a boy yourself. Maybe you're a mother or grandmother of boys. Maybe you've been worrying about this for years anyway. Maybe you're a teacher, a head teacher. Get in touch. We'd love to know. 0207 862 2222. We haven't heard much from Emily yet, so let's plunge in with you first of all. What do you think? Do we need a minister for boys?
I'm going to give you a very strong answer, Vanessa, which is no, I don't think we do, because I don't really see how a ministerial position is going to help what is a very serious issue. And I am the mum of two primary school-aged children. I'm a school governor at our local primary, and it's something that I see day in, day out with even, you know, as young as kind of 5, 6, 7-year-old boys. And what I think, Bryony and I were chatting earlier, we think that maybe, how do we define achievement and success? It's through exams. We're forcing kids to do their SATs at year 6 when they're 10, 11, and then obviously their GCSEs at 16, and then A-levels if they go on. And actually, maybe how we define success and achievement, and, you know, we talk about the, you know, attainability of boys being much lower. I think every metric, boys fall behind girls, and that's how even the language that we talk about it. And maybe we should reframe the language of achievement. It shouldn't be like, how well did you do in exams? It should be, are you happy? Now, I know that the education system is that's a very difficult thing to measure, isn't it?
They're at school and we need them to learn things. We need them to learn reading, writing, arithmetic.
Yes,
we need them to be the doctors, the pharmacists, the AI specialists, the accountants, the psychotherapists of the future. We don't, I mean, well, of course we'd love them to be happy. That'd be absolutely marvellous. And we'd love them to be confident and delightful. That would be great. But, I mean, changing the measurement doesn't change the attainment level. Cristo, come on, you're the testosterone-fueled example of
you are our man
on this show.
Assuming I have any testosterone left, I appreciate that. Even if we were to change the metric, men aren't happy. We have a crisis among men and boys in this country, and actually there are two victims of that crisis. It's women, to whom many are turning their violence towards, or it's themselves, because, of course, male suicide is the most likely way in which a man will die, especially a young man. Now, if there was any other way so many people were dying, of course we would have a government minister for it, and we would have someone in the room who could action legislation, who would be in the cabinet, who would be able to get this sorted out. Because
so you think we should have?
Absolutely,
you think we should have a minister
100%
for boys? Because we have a minister for women.
I'm amazed it's not been spoken about before. I would not be a young straight man in this day and age for love nor
All right, why
money.
not? Why are boys, as you say, so unhappy?
Because I think that we give, society gives them so many mixed messages. We want you to be masculine, and we want you to be the protector and sort of the breadwinner, but actually, no, don't be too masculine, because we want you to be in touch with your feelings. However, but if there's a war, you have to go and fight and make sure that you're the ones that are doing so. But hang on, masculinity is very, very toxic, isn't it? So let's not do that as well. So we've got that side of it. We have an education system which is so academia focused that we've forgotten completely that many, many young men and boys actually would go into trades, which is something that we have completely forgotten in our education system. That would give them a level of attainment and achievement that they are not getting now. I think class is a big element as well. A lot of working class boys don't know what to do with themselves, and that's manifesting itself into a society where they are turning to extremes like Andrew Tate. It's a society where perhaps we're seeing riots and violence, but also it's a society where we are seeing violence towards women and of course, as I said, the suicide. And so it is manifesting itself in such a negative way that I think this is a crisis, and a minister is the start of the action we need.
Wow, that's very passionate. Bryony, do you feel the same? Do we need a minister for boys? Certainly there's a problem, a serious, serious problem, isn't there?
I struggle to think of anyone in government who I would want a child, who boys would look up to be honest.
Right.
I think it's really interesting. I think there is a crisis for boys. I think there's also, though, in many ways, a crisis for young girls, you know. So they may be doing well in exams, but, you know, we were talking about this earlier, the perfectionism. Girls are very good at masking. They're very good at reaching goals and doing what they're told and being good, you know. But they're also suffering a lot with anxiety, mental health themselves, eating disorders. You know, I think what I want to know more is, instead of separating out boys and girls, is why children are struggling so much generally today, you know, why
I know what my daughter Saskia, the child therapist, would say about this, and she's just written a book about this, and obviously I'm a mum, so I've read it, so I do know more about this than I would otherwise know, though I'm certainly not a child therapist. But she says that one of the issues is the legacy of COVID, during which time parents could not soothe themselves, let alone calm their children, because nobody knew what was happening. Everyone was shocked and worried and traumatised, and every kind of existing support network, like school, like your social life, like your grandparents, all the things that kind of made your life feel solid and safe, were sort of taken away overnight, really, and nobody could tell you when they were coming back again, and that we're still dealing with the anxiety, which is the fallout of that. And I think that's very probably the case.
May I respectfully say, I think this has been going on since way before COVID, and to respond to you, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. However, we're having a conversation about the crisis of boys, and now we're talking about girls.
Hi, Paula, good to have you on. What do you think about this?
I'm absolutely appalled. There have been ministers for boys since time immemorial. We have examples. All the prime ministers, all the privileges of life have gone to men and boys. From the day they're born, they're praised for being born. Women get, and I think that's part of the problem. They're so used to having it their own way. When I went to school, I had to get a higher mark to get into grammar school than the boys.
Oh, really?
There have been so many things weighted in favour of boys since time immemorial. Stop it with your minister for boys.
Paula, the only thing is, it may be just this generation, but they're really struggling at school, and they seem to be going off the rails emotionally, and many of them are great fans of Andrew Tate, who's obviously preaching misogyny and violence and all kinds of terribly upsetting things. So, you know, they're obviously in some kind of trouble. Don't you agree with that?
Absolutely, but where do they get their example from? Other men and boys? It's not. Is a minister for boys going to make it any better? Is it going to be another white man showing men how they should be privileged and they should go to public schools and they don't have to leave work if they get married, as people of my mother's generation had to do, and get paid less? Men and boys are privileged, and you want a minister to help them cope. Poor things, they have such a hard life.
Gosh, Paula, you're very tough. I mean, I get it. I see where you're coming from on this, but
as a woman who's been suffered domestic violence, and I've been raped, and I've gone through all sorts of things, plus all the things in work and everything else where men have been privileged, I have a reason to feel the way I do. And many, many women who never mention it or talk about it because they're so ashamed, because women are ashamed, whereas men boast about their sexual prowess, etc. It's such a double standard. And now when boys aren't getting it their own way, they're suddenly suffering the things that girls have suffered from forever. There's shame about everything, while boys are annoyed because they're not getting what they consider as their right.
Paula, you know, you're obviously coming from a position where you've suffered a great deal, you've been through a great deal of pain at the hands of men. I suppose part of this would be, if there were a minister for boys, that what would be shown or what would be sort of exemplified would be a completely different way of treating women, a different way of building relationships with women, so that the sorts of awful things that you've suffered wouldn't have to be endured by girls of this generation. I suppose you could say that would be part of the mission of the Minister for Boys, if we ever get one.
Why would you need a mission to do that? It's everybody needs to step up and not allow boys to get away with the things they get away with. They punished a man who raped 2 boys with 20 years. Men who rape women tend to get up with a lot lesser sentences.
All right, Paula, thank you very much, and thank you for your perspective on this, and thank you for your passion. And I'm very sorry, of course, for all the things you've obviously been through. A very courageous woman, and from a particularly firm standpoint, which you can completely understand. Let's go to Cassandra in Glasgow. Hi, Cassandra. Thanks for ringing.
Hello, Vanessa. How are you? Thanks for having me.
How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you.
Good. Tell me about boys and whether you think we need a minister for boys or whether there's something else you think we need or could do.
We don't need a minister for boys. That's another waste of taxpayers' money. You know, if we need somebody to direct the boys, there should be somebody within the ministry to do that. We don't have to have a minister for boys, because the next thing, then we need a minister for girls. Then we're going to need a minister for transgender. The government has to look at the things that they cut off. This is a blame on the government and society altogether. They've cut down on youth clubs and everything, so there's nowhere these boys can go for activities. There's nothing for them to do. The boys don't know whether they're going or coming. 1 minute they want them to be macho. 1 minute they want them to be in touch with their feminine side.
Just what Cristo said, absolutely. Right, Cristo?
But then wouldn't you agree that someone in the cabinet actually trying to advocate for what you're saying would then make some progress on the subject?
Yes, you know, so somebody we don't need a minister for this. You know, we need cooperation from school, parents, and the council, you know, to guide these boys. I have nephews. My nephews are well behaved. You know, because we all struggle financially to engage them in social activities. And the parents, sometimes the way they see the parents at home recreate the way they behave. Social media has a lot to say about this.
I think you're right. And Bryony was just mentioning that before, Bryony, that social media really plays a huge part in it.
I think, yeah, absolutely, Cassandra. I think kids are being parented, actually, often by social media. And then I sit here and talk about we shouldn't let our kids on social media. And then we're all on social media ourselves, you know. We are modelling it. And I think also what Paula said before, it's interesting that maybe if we had more powerful female role models, actually, as opposed to another male minister, that to be able to model that this is how women can exist in society as well.
Maybe a female minister for boys.
Not a bad idea.
Mentors, strong mentors for boys, be they men or women, but maybe is a really good idea.
Let's bring in Roy in Wolverhampton. Roy, what do you think?
I think I'm glad that I met Paula when I was younger. I'd have still been single.
Oh, I don't know. She's obviously had an awfully rough time of it, hasn't she, poor thing? What do you think about ministers for boys, though?
No. Listen, I grew up in a Catholic school till I was 11. Then I went to an all-boys school. My wife went to an all-girls school. We got sisters. We meet sisters and you learn how to mix with the opposite sex. As a kid, you go out to school on the bus with them and you mix with them. We used to have youth clubs where we mixed. But can I just tell you a story about my grandson?
Very quickly, but yes.
He took his mum's ring to school the other day and proposed to his girlfriend. Oh. The teacher took the ring off and gave it back to his mum. You know, it's all something and nothing.
I'm not sure what you're saying. Are you saying that he's a very sweet boy that's fallen in love with his girlfriend? Are you saying he took the ring without asking his mum? Was it a good thing or a bad thing that he took the ring, Roy?
It's a good thing. Bit of fun. We all laughed so much at it.
A bit of fun, yeah. OK, and don't take it too terribly seriously. I appreciate the call, Roy. Thank you very much indeed